Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Good Time Gal. I'm your host, Caitlin Peluffo. Thank you very much for tuning in. This week we have Doug Smith. He is so funny. He's so great. He's been on Conan. He has a fantastic This Is Not Happening, where he basically just admits to being a hero in a very fun and delightful way. I recommend you check that out. It's on YouTube. And then also, you can follow him on Instagram and Twitter, So Doug Smith. Apparently he's more on Instagram, so head on there to catch him. This episode is just so much fun. We catch up. We haven't seen each other in a while, but he's got some doozies. He had a long, fruitful, drunk life. So this one's really just a bunch of stories. It's super fun. I think you're going to love it. And on top of that, please follow the pod at Good Time Gal Pod on Instagram. I'm at Caitlin Peluffo on all the things, Instagram, Twitter, of course. And then I'm going to actually be in Indianapolis Valentine's Day weekend. I'm going to be working the Helium there. It's going to be a socially distanced show with masks, the whole shebang. So if you want to come to a live show and you're in Indiana and want to make the trip to Helium, please do so. It should be a fun time. And that's it. That's all I have for you right now. Please have a safe and fun weekend, I guess. Keep trying to survive. And, who gives a just, you're doing great. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're doing great. And I love you very much. Okay? And if you have a chance, you could rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. That would be tremendous. That would help me out a bunch. And, yeah, that's it. I mean, you're not buying my love. I already love you. But just, if you feel it in your soul, feel free to leave a nice review. I mean, and then go see a comedy show. All right. Nothing matters. Okay. Enjoy Doug Smith. I did. I think you're going to love it. Okay? Tell a friend. Bye, guys. Well, let's just to give you a rundown of what this podcast is. It's about drunk stories, which you probably know.
I've been listening. It's great.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're so sweet. That's very nice of you. I love it. It's like a little labor of love. And it's just me, but I just love, they're my favorite drunk stories. And what's fun about you is that the first time I really met you, I got blackout drunk with you
At that brewery show.
Yeah,
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
I literally was like, oh, perfect. Yeah, I definitely got blackout drunk. I think I ate corn and then I don't remember getting home. So it's a lovely Doug
Corn
Smith.
is always a good reminder of a blackout, right?
Yeah. Shit,
I
and
ate
then
corn?
you turn around.
All right. I ate
Yeah.
corn.
Something has gone awry. Oh my God. But yeah, I see you every once in a while, but that was like our big connection, I feel like.
Yeah. I think that was my first time. Are we doing it? This is it, right? Are we rolling?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We can. I'll introduce you. Hey, everybody. This is
okay.
Doug Smith. This is Doug Smith. He's a sweet angel. He's so funny. You've seen him on Conan, that whole thing. And he has a great This Is Not Happening. Doug Smith, everybody. I do the plugs up top.
Me, buddy.
That's what I do.
Happy belated birthday, by the way. I was listening to your I listened to the first episode you did with Sean Patton. I believe, was it January 7th you said your birthday is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So mine is the 2nd.
Oh my God. Oh
so
my.
we're not too far apart.
Don't our birthdays kind of suck?
Like I got to tell you, yeah.
Timing?
I mean, any January birthday is pretty shitty, but I got to say January 2nd, I think might be the worst possible day to have a birthday because everyone is just over it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just wants to get back to their miserable lives. Nobody's excited for you. Nobody wants to celebrate. It's not, it's over. Everyone's done.
Yeah. January 7th, I always hated because everybody would be on their New Year's resolution kick. And so I've had so many birthdays where people are just like, oh, I'm not drinking. Oh, I'm trying to get to bed early. Oh, I'm not trying to spend money. Oh, So it's just I'll just be here drunk by myself. That's what I'll do.
I guess it'll just be every other night for me.
Yeah.
Alone in my house.
Oh, but
blacking out on the couch,
exactly. That's
eating corn.
God, I love that corn. It's literally January 2nd, though, I would imagine is much worse because January 1st, people just
Yeah,
recover from New Year's and then they got to do it again on the 2nd. Oh,
right.
no, that's not good.
Yeah,
That's not good at all. So
no,
I'm
it
sorry,
doesn't
Doug. I'm
fly.
sorry that's your life.
It's okay. I mean, I honestly, I'm not a huge birthday fan anyway. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so for the first 20 years of my life, I didn't have birthdays at all.
What?
So yeah,
No, you
yeah.
did not
I
tell
don't
me
know if I
this.
don't. Yeah. So yeah, I grew up never celebrating my birthday, and then when I finally was able to celebrate my birthday, and realizing how over it everybody is on January 2nd, I was like, I guess I was almost protected in a way from the heartbreak of having a miserable birthday.
Yeah, they chose their religion just to protect you for
Yeah, yeah.
birthdays.
Like no one's gonna care anyway, so let's take birthdays off the table completely.
So, what is a Jehovah's Witness? Sorry to get off topic a little bit, but I've always heard of
Oh,
them. I
that's
know they
okay. It
don't
definitely
celebrate, but what is that denomination like?
it's like a sect of Christianity. I mean, they're Bible based to a fault, where
Okay.
everything in the Bible is taken at face value. So like birthdays, for example, the reason they don't celebrate birthdays is because the only account of a birthday celebration in the Bible was King Herod, who was a very wealthy, kind of corrupt ruler. He told
Hmm.
his daughter on her 18th birthday she could have anything she wanted, and she asked for the head of John the Baptist on a silver platter. And her dad was like, okay. So off came his head, presented her with a silver platter with a man's head on it. And so because of that, birthdays are bad, birthdays are pagan, they have horrible evil origins. So because of that one instance of some psycho bitch asking for Jesus homeboy's head on a platter, birthdays are ruined for everybody.
Oh no.
So and that was taught to me as a kid. Like, this is why we don't celebrate birthdays. It's like, yeah, but I just want a fucking piece of cake and a balloon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't need a decapitation to make me
Yeah.
happy.
I don't even need a pinata. Okay. I get it. That's a
Yeah.
little violent. So I'll pass on the pinata, but just get me some cake. Oh,
Yeah.
God. So, what would they do on your birthday? Just tell you you are a year older. Goodbye.
Pretty much. Yeah, my mom would be acknowledged. My mom would come into my room in the morning and sit on the edge of my bed and put her hand on my back, be like, you know what day it is? We're very happy you were born. And that was it. Like, she would acknowledge it, but it was not, there was no presents, no cake, no happy birthday, no song, no nothing.
That makes
And
me so sad.
nothing in school. And when kids in my class would have a birthday and someone would bring in cupcakes, I would have to leave the room and go sit in the library by myself while everybody
Oh
else
my
was eating cupcakes.
God. Are you serious? Your
Yeah.
parents were that strict? You couldn't even celebrate other people's birthdays?
Oh no. Nope.
Oh
No.
my God.
So I'd have to go sit in the library. And then luckily, like, I always used to kind of wonder, I think every year that I would be in a new class, I would worry about people finding out that I was Jehovah's Witness, and I would worry about them making fun of me.
Hmm.
But honestly, nobody ever made fun of me. People like felt sad. People felt bad for me. They like took pity on me. So I would like come back from the library, and I would have a friend or two that would like save me a little piece of their cupcake, or like slip it to
Oh.
me under the desk, or like I was desperate enough that I would like take a kid's cupcake wrapper and just pop it in my mouth and just like suck the cake bits out of it. Just be like, I want to experience something.
Oh no.
And to this day, when I eat a cupcake, I suck on the cupcake wrapper
I
afterward.
do that too. It's
Yeah.
so good. It's like the little burnt bits of the cupcake. You just
Yeah,
flip it
yeah, it's
inside out
great.
and you scrape your teeth against it.
Yeah, you just gnaw on it like a piece of gum for a while.
Yeah. It's real gross because you
Swallow it if you're
realize,
feeling daring.
well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, my max is corn. That's all I can do. That's all this body can handle. But then you realize that everybody has handled the bottom of the cupcake and I'm just like
Yes.
shoving it in my mouth. Like, ooh. Not COVID friendly, I would say.
Not at
Not
all.
at all. So growing up Jehovah's Witness, did you kind of rebel against that when you got to high school or college? Like, what was that? Because I
Yeah,
assume you're not anymore
I'm not
because you celebrate
anymore.
your
No.
birthday. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to tie it into drinking, which I mean, that's why kind of why I brought it up because it definitely, yeah, certainly
Yeah.
led me to rebel quite a bit. So
Ooh.
my mom died when I was 17, and she was the one who was like the real linchpin. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it was super important to her, and she was converted by them going around knocking on doors, going door to door.
Oh,
Which
wow.
where did you grow up?
Uh, San Francisco Bay Area.
Right. And you never had Jehovah's Witness come to your
We
door
had
there?
we had a church in town that was
You did.
Jehovah's Witness, and they would come around every once in a while. But my mom was like, no offense, but she was like, don't talk to those people.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
was like,
yeah.
okay.
That's
So that's all
most
I know about that they don't celebrate anything, and we
right.
don't answer the door when they come around. That's it.
Yeah, your mom is a smart woman. So my mom did answer the door and just
Uh-huh.
fell for it, hook, line, and sinker,
Oh.
and became very, very devout in the religion. And so all of my siblings were raised that way. They were all much older than me, and they all in their late teens were like, "This is horse shit. I'm not doing this anymore." So they
Yeah.
all dropped off one after another. And it was so important to her that it was like every one of my siblings that left was like totally heartbreaking to her.
Oh.
So I came along. My siblings are 14, 16, and 18 years older than me.
Oh my
So
God. You were an only
yeah,
child.
pretty much.
You
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
stand a chance, Doug.
No. I was her Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I was her only hope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she was 47 when I was born. She had just turned 47 when I was born. And this is, I just turned 38 is 38 years ago.
Oh my.
I used to try to do a joke about it when I first started doing stand up that would like either kill or just like I would have to go through the back end exit. I would say my mom had me when she was 47, which, as you know, the odds of having a child that late in life with no serious birth defects is pretty slim. So, as far as I know, I'm the only person in history to have ever made a full and complete recovery from Down syndrome. And like I did that was like one of my A jokes my first year of stand up. And
Uh-huh.
like then I don't know what happened. I don't know if I got too cocky doing it or what, but I reached a point where I was like, this is not worth telling that joke anymore because I would just get some real hateful looks.
Really, it's so
Um
funny. It's clearly a joke. It's oh my God. Anyway, it's great joke. Okay.
once you drop the D word, people are sign out. Um so yeah, she was I had all this pressure put on me to like, uphold
Mhm.
the standards and practices of the religion. It was really important to her. So when she died, I kind of like completely went off the rails because I'd been like living this super strict, restrictive lifestyle for
Uh-huh.
17 years. So I remember I started drinking. I think I had like snuck a beer here and there before.
Mhm.
But I really started drinking like right after her funeral. Like we came back to the house and I just started like slamming Mike's Hard Lemonade. I was like,
Oh no.
I can do what I want now because my dad was completely distraught. He had been sober for my dad was a absolute falling down mess of a drunk when they met. Like he would like stumble home and piss in the shoe closet, and like
Oh no.
she made him swear off of drinking completely. So my whole upbringing, I never saw my dad have a drop of alcohol.
Mhm.
But my mom she grew up in a very waspy New England family, so she would have her bourbon on the rocks every single day at 5 o'clock. I never saw my mom drunk, but like every single day, 5 o'clock, bourbon on the rocks. And my dad would make it for her, which I always thought was so fucked up and torturous for her to be like, Peter, get me a drink. Meanwhile, he's standing at a full bar pouring drinks for this woman when he's been told that if he takes another sip, their marriage is over.
Oh man, your mom is quite the woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that is that's a lot. She really
You can say the C word. It's okay.
No, no, no,
Um,
no. She's inspiring in so many ways. For a woman in her 30s who has not had kids yet and is not married to have a kid at 47 who turned out quite lovely, and also to just have her husband just kind of whipped like that is impressive. I gotta
yeah.
say, this woman was a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she ruled with an iron fist for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, when she died, my dad went off the rails too. So he had been a dry drunk my whole upbringing, and then he just completely went off the rails and he hit the sauce fucking
Oh.
hard. And I did too. So we were both just like these codependent drunks, and we still were because it was the Jehovah's Witness thing was something that was, instilled in us and was part of our life. We still were like going to meetings, going to Jehovah's Witness meetings, going out knocking on doors. We were both half in the bag most of the time when we were doing it. Like I remember my dad, because it's not just like a Sunday mass. Like we have
Mhm.
there were 3 meetings a week, so Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Sunday. And I remember like having dinner on Thursday and him, just pounding Canadian whiskey and then being like, "All right, suit up. We're getting in the car. We're going to the meeting." It's like, holy shit. Like
Would he drive?
yeah, it's like I'm a terrible driver. I had already totaled 2 cars within 6 months of getting my license. And this guy, who also has one eye, uh, is completely fucking hammered. Like, should we flip a coin to see who drives? We're both gonna die. There's no good option here. So he would he would drive us to the meetings, and we would sit in the back, and I'm sure we were just reeking of booze.
Mhm.
But nobody said anything. I think people felt sorry for us. It's like, this
Yeah.
guy's wife died, this guy's mom died. They're both just trying to get through life at this point.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's when my drinking really started. And at least, I did grow up a Jehovah's Witness, but we did have a pool growing up, which was nice. So like
Ooh.
my summers uh after she died. Have you seen the movie The Graduate?
Yes.
I'm sure. All right. So you know how, like, when he graduates college, he spends a whole summer just like doesn't leave the pool float, and he's just drinking beer on the pool float, and his dad's
Mhm.
like, "All right, it's okay to relax, but get your life together, kid."
Yeah.
So I had like 3 summers. Those were my summers, just like lying in a pool raft in a submerged in empty Coors Light cans. And my dad would like facilitate it because he knew he didn't really, not a very like communicative, like warm guy who's in touch with his emotions. So he's like, I don't know how to talk to this kid about what's going on. All I can
Mhm.
do is just, he likes drinking. So I just remember like, waking up in like out of a haze at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and seeing him carry like a case of Coors Light out to the pool fridge and like stock the fridge for me. Like, as a 17-year-old, he would like keep the pool fridge like well stocked with beer for me. Like, that was him
See,
doing his part.
yeah, dads show love in very different ways. Okay.
Yeah,
My dad showed it through sports. He made me play every sport and he made me be very good at every sport, but he loved me. And then your
right.
dad just got you hammered. And that's beautiful in its own
Yeah.
weird way. And I
There
won't even
was
say
yeah, there
weird,
was
just a nice, different way.
there was never like, "Hey, take it easy, Doug. Slow down a little bit." It was always
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, come on. Yeah, I'll drink with you." It was like we were like college drinking buddies.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I once I started drinking, it was like off to the races. There was no
Mhm.
like, easing into it. It was full throttle from the get-go.
Were you, uh, in general, were you like a cool kid? Did the drinking
Was I
help
a
your
cool kid?
status? Yeah. Did it help like
Um
make you
I
more
don't know.
popular? Did you have more parties?
No, I mean, that's another thing. Like, I lived such an isolated life growing up. So like, Jehovah's Witnesses, it's basically all about keeping you in a bubble
Uh-huh.
and keeping you separate from the rest of the world. So I could not hang out with kids that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. So I couldn't go to kids' houses, I couldn't go to dances, I couldn't play organized sports. Like, I was actually lucky that I could even, excuse me, that I could even go to school. Like, a lot of kids that I grew up with were homeschooled because their parents took it that extra level of like, we don't even want you in school associating with these worldly people, as they called them.
Worldly.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
that's
Which, you know, now in my adulthood, worldly is that's
yeah.
a positive attribute to give to
Yeah, that
somebody.
means you've been to Paris. Like
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you did a semester abroad.
yeah.
You
Who
fucked a
speaks a
cabana
little
boy on a Caribbean
Yeah.
vacation. Yeah.
Who speaks a little Spanish? Ooh.
Totally. But yeah, growing up worldly was like a very negative connotation. Like beware of the world, you know, it's dangerous out there.
Oh God.
So yeah, I was like I said, the fact that I made it through school without getting bullied mercilessly is still kind of a miracle to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kept a very low profile. I didn't, you know, I tried to blend in as best as I could. I didn't overtly tell people I was Jehovah's Witness. You know, people
Mm-hmm.
would find out. But I just tried to have alliances with people in every group. You know what I mean? So I had
Mm-hmm.
like, and I was a really good artist growing up. I went to art school when I got out of high school. I went to School of Visual Arts for 2 years.
No
So like,
way.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of had that to fall back on because people kind of like respected me for my artistic abilities, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my senior superlatives. I got voted best artist, and it was still to this day like one of the most meaningful moments of my life because I felt like I didn't know anybody thought even knew I fucking existed, let
Mm-hmm.
alone would think of me when filling out that ballot, you know? And it was
Yeah.
like so touching to me that I was thought of that way. So I had, you know, I was friendly with kids in every group, you know, like theater kids, stoner kids,
Mm-hmm.
jocks, you know, goth, you know, like I tried to be very diplomatic and friendly with everybody. So I wouldn't say I was like a cool kid, but I was never, you know, I never got my ass kicked or got picked on,
Yeah.
which is, like I said, a miracle to me.
It's so
Um,
funny. I talk to so many comics, and that seems to be the common thread. It's like I wasn't cool, but I got
yeah,
along with everybody and I was friends
right.
with everybody. And that seems to be like most comics experience in school. It's
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
none of if you were popular, you're not doing comedy. But yeah, if you were, it seems to be like the you know, what is it? The communications major of
Sure.
social status is
Yeah, yeah.
maybe not
Absolutely.
communicate. That actually makes no sense, but God bless you.
Well,
It's like,
no, I think it
nope.
does because I feel like, you know, we do like want to please, obviously. I mean, every time
Mhm,
we get up on stage, we're aiming to please. That is the
mhm.
goal. But the irony of it is so many comics are so socially awkward, you know?
Yes.
Like it's hilarious to me every now and then, like we're in our neighborhood in Park Slope, we'll be walking around and I'll bump into an acquaintance on the street, and every time my wife will be like, "Is that guy a comic?" And sometimes I'll be like, "No, it's just a guy I know from the neighborhood." She'll be like, "Oh, because he was so like weird and aloof, I figured he must be a comic."
You're like,
Like
"Thanks."
that's her association with comic. Like, you know,
Oh,
there's
that's so yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you didn't really have people over to enjoy this beer with you. You were just
Oh no, I
sitting
was a
alone.
solitary drinker. At best, it would be me and my dad. You know.
Oh,
Um,
it gets sadder and sadder, Doug.
yeah.
You weren't
Yeah.
even sharing your cupcake wrappers here. You were
This is
just
yeah, anybody listening to this is putting down their beer can and trying to make right with their life.
yeah.
Um yeah, yeah, I was a solitary drinker from the start, and then when I but I had like other Jehovah's Witness friends. One friend in particular who his mom was not nearly as strict as mine. So like
Mhm.
he started working in the restaurant business when he was like 16. So that world is
Oh
you were
yeah.
a bartender for a while?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I've
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I fucked half the staff. I was drunk all the
yeah.
time. Yeah. It's what a
I mean, that
world.
world is complete debauchery. Yeah.
Oh, for
So you
sure.
can't, you know, you're not going to uphold these Jehovah's Witness, you know, practices while working in the restaurant industry.
No.
So hit my buddy Matt, I always kind of looked to as like, oh man, like I almost envied his ability to like lead a double life. You know what I mean? Like he was still going to meetings and everybody thought he was, doing the right thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when you dig a little deeper, you find out he's working at this restaurant. He was fucking the manager, who was a married woman with 2 kids. Like he was like getting coked up and riding his motorcycle home, and like he was going off the rails, but like still keeping his head above water in the Jehovah's Witness congregation. So I always kind of look to him as like, well, I guess I can kind of do both. I can kind of straddle that line.
Mm-hmm.
But then before uh I reached a point when I was 20 where I was like, I can't do this anymore. My dad and I had kept it up for like another 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And I sat him down one day and I was like, Dad, I can't do this anymore. And I thought he
Mm-hmm.
was going to be devastated. And he goes, well, shit, I can't either. And it was like this moment where it's like the closest to him I ever felt. Like I was like crying. I gave him a big hug. It was like such relief on both of our parts. We didn't have to like keep up this charade anymore.
Oh, that's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
So part of me was a little resentful. Like, what if I didn't say anything? You know what I mean? Like, how long would you? How I'm fucking 20 years old. I had to be the one to pull the trigger on this.
Well, I'm sure he didn't
Um,
want to let his son down because, I
yeah,
mean, you were actively going and he was like, well, he's already lost his mom and I can't be the one to take away his religion as well. Maybe?
yeah. Sure.
I don't know. I'm on Peter's side.
It was.
I love Peter. Peter's great. Okay. Peter's just trying to make his son happy.
Yeah.
He's been making other people's drinks for decades and now he's just
That
got
fridge
his own
is
Bud
stocked.
Light
All the
fridge.
labels are facing the front. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was nailing it.
Yeah, he's living his life. He's still sad though. It's beautiful. I love it. I love Peter.
Man. So when I finally left the religion and I was like, I gotta get out of this house, I gotta get out of this community, this world. Which when you leave, it's like totally starting over, because when you leave, you're like excommunicated. Like nobody wants anything to do with you. Like
Oh,
you might as well be dead.
that's so
So
sad.
it is sad, but at the same time, I really had no allegiance to anybody in that congregation anymore, and I still
Mhm.
had my buddy Matt, who had pretty much left at this point. He had stopped going to meetings, so I was like, I just got to get out of here. I don't know where to go. I don't know where I should be. I wanted to
Mhm.
live in New York, and even though I was commuting to SVA, couldn't even live
Oh,
on
wow.
campus, because that's another thing that goes along with the whole Jehovah's Witness thing, is like secular education, again, is like frowned upon. So my whole life, I never even thought of college as even a possibility. And I was able to convince my dad to let me go to SVA as long as I commuted from home. And I grew up in Connecticut, so it was like an hour. It was
Oh,
a bitch of a commute. It was like an hour and a
yeah.
half train ride every day.
Oh,
So I was one
God.
of those like commuter grunts on Metro North every day,
Mhm.
which is not the college experience, that I was
No.
looking for at all. It'd just be
No.
like, 3 hours round trip of commuting every day.
Yeah.
And then just, buying a tall boy before I get on the train, and just being like, you see all these like miserable, husbands that are, getting hammered on Metro North,
Yeah.
their tie loose. And then you realize, oh, geez, these guys still have to hop in a car and drive
Oh,
home to
no.
their families.
Oh, no.
So this is such a downer. I'm sorry. You had no
No,
idea what you were
you're
signing up
doing
for.
you're doing great. Okay. I found a new goal as a father figure, so we're doing awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet Pete.
Peter's
That's
the one,
him.
huh? Okay.
Peter's the one. He's in my heart forever.
So I decided that one of my brothers was living down in Washington, D.C. He was
Mhm.
married, had kids, and he was like, hey, listen, like, I understand you got to get the fuck out of there. Come down here. You can live with us for a while. I'll help you get a job in an apartment in D.C. You just got to get out of there and start over. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right. So right before I make the move down to DC, me and my buddy Matt were like, let's go into the city for one last hurrah before you move. And I think it was like mid-January actually, and it was like the first big snow of the winter. And so we got on the train. We're going into the city to, our thing back then was we would just we would just like bar crawl through Little Italy because none of those places carded you, you know, and I still wasn't quite 21 yet, so I had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So our plan was just to go down and go to Little Italy and get hammered in these Italian restaurants. But it's like it's this beautiful winter night and it's, you know, heavy snowfall, and we're like, you know what, fuck this, let's just go to the liquor store, buy a couple of pints of booze, and just like walk around drinking booze out of a paper bag like a couple of hobos, you know. So we did that, and as a total amateur, I bought 1 pint of Stoli vodka and I bought a pint of Jim Beam. I couldn't even stick with, you know, one liquor.
I'm already stressed out. This already makes me very anxious. Oh no.
So I took down the Jim Beam first, which I had quite a bit of experience drinking already. But the vodka, it was like I never really drank vodka before. Where I was like, hey, why not try something new? I had no idea the you know,
how worldly of you.
What a bad idea it was to mix like that, you know. So I'm drinking these pints of booze. Matt is doing the same. He's also like a full-blown coke addict at this point too. So he's like doing key bumps of coke all night. And at one point he's like, hey man, I'm not trying to push this on you, but you know, just letting you know, I don't want to be rude. If you want to try some of this, you're welcome to. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the fuck? Sure, I'll try a little bump. So he gave me like a tiny bump of coke. Never done coke before. And then next thing I know, everything that I'm going to tell you now was told to me because of him, because after that bump of coke, just immediate blackout. So apparently when that happened, we were in Tompkins Square Park and there was already like 2 inches of snow on the ground. And I completely blacked out and fell down face first in the snow. And he could not wake me up. Like I was breathing, but I wasn't. I was completely unconscious. So he was like slapping me in the face, trying to wake me up, trying to get me back on my feet, and I just would not wake up. So he had to drag my body through the snow in Tompkins Square Park to get me in a cab, and he got me in a cab to try to get me back to Metro North so we could go home. So the cab tries to let us out on 42nd Street, but on the other side of the street. So he has to pull me out of the cab, and again, he's dragging my body across 42nd Street. And a cop rolls up and says, "Hey, buddy, what the hell's going on here?" And he's like, "Sorry, my friend had a little too much to drink. I'm just getting him on the train home." And they're like, "Is he awake?" And he's like, "No, but he'll be fine." They're like, "No. You either need to come with us. You're either spending the night in the drunk take, or you need to get him to a hospital." And Matt was like, all right, hospital it is, I guess. So I woke up. I don't remember any of that. I just remember waking up in Bellevue in the emergency room, and I open my eyes and I look over and I see Matt sitting in a chair in the corner with his jacket draped over him, trying to get some sleep. And it all kind of like comes back to me, and I just immediately just start hysterically laughing. Like I wake up and I just start hysterically laughing, and he's furious at me because he doesn't want to be, he was just trying to have a fun night out. He wasn't trying to spend the night in fucking Bellevue Hospital. So I'm just hysterically laughing. He's like, "Will you shut the fuck up? You're the reason we're in here. You can't tolerate your shit. You fucked everything up." And he's like furious at me. And then I realized, like, oh fuck, I'm in the hospital. Like, I don't want my dad to get a hospital bill. Then Cat's gonna be out of the bag. I wasn't like worried that he was gonna be too mad, but I was like, this is kind of pushing the envelope. You know what I mean? Like, he's been supportive of me. He's been okay with all my decisions thus far, but getting blackout drunk and having to go to the hospital is like, that's another level, So I wake up and I hop out of the bed and my gown is wide open in the back. So I just have my bare ass hanging out of my hospital gown as I'm like running through the lobby of the emergency room trying to flag down a nurse. I'm like, and I'm still drunk too. I'm still fucking wasted. I'm like, "Listen, I'm moving to Washington, D.C. next week. I need you to make sure you forward my medical bill to my new apartment." And they were like, "Okay, sir, you got it. Don't worry." They're like, "What's the address?" They're like, had an imaginary pencil. They're jotting down my address. And I'm like, "Just please make sure you send it there, because I don't want it to go to my old address, because my dad's going to be like super mad." And they were like, "All right, don't worry. We got you. We got you." And so they finally, they finally let us out. Once I was awake, they didn't have to pump my stomach or anything. They just kind of needed to keep me there to make sure I wasn't gonna, die in my sleep.
Uh-huh.
So once I was awake and they could see I was just a drunk idiot, they were like, all right, we need this bed for people that are actually in need of our services. So by this point, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. There were no more trains going back to our hometown. So we had to just sit in the lobby with a bunch of heroin addicts that were there waiting for their methadone dose. So all of my clothes also were completely soaking wet and in a plastic bag. So I'm sitting there in a hospital issued purple sweatsuit, like bright purple sweatsuit with white canvas shoes with my bag of wet clothes. Just sitting in this waiting room, waiting for it to be like 7 o'clock so we can just get on a train and go home. And finally we did. We got on the train, just complete silence the whole way. Matt was just like furious with me. And then I drove home, and I don't think I got out of bed for like 2 days because between the booze and that single bump of Coke, and I couldn't feel my fingertips for like another month. Like I was, the early stages of frostbite were there. Like I still, when it gets really cold, my big toes go numb immediately. Like I feel like I never recovered from like sleeping in the snow in Tompkins Square Park for God knows how long.
Oh God.
So then sure enough, I'm down in DC, and like 3 months later I get a call from my dad, and he's like, so it seems like you had a little too much fun in the city back in January, huh? And I was like, what? He's like, I got your Bellevue hospital bill. I was like, oh, fuck. And he was like, hey, it's okay. We've all been there. And I'm thinking like, have we? We've all been there? But he was still like so sweet about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he couldn't be mad at me because he had done so much similar shit,
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that was probably my worst. I'm definitely a blackout guy. I've been off the sauce for a year and 3 months, so I feel like kind of hypocritical doing this
No.
podcast, but I feel like I can look back on all the glory days with more clarity now.
Yeah, congrats on a year and 3 months. That's great.
Yeah.
We have sober people on this all the time. Like Emma Willman did it, and she was
Right.
like, I told her what it was about. I was like, I really don't want this to be triggering for you. And she was like, please, I love this shit, but there's a reason why I don't drink. Let's talk about it. And it was
Right.
they're very fun. So don't worry. Also, Peter, God, just a slam dunk of a father. I just love him.
I thought he was kind of an asshole up until now, but I feel like I'm getting a whole new perspective from
Oh,
you.
really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really. See, my parents, like, I have 2 drinks and they're like, you're an alcoholic. And they're like, my mom goes into hysterics. And then I feel guilty for drinking, which makes me drink more. And then I get drunker and then I throw up in a tent, which is just one time that happened. But they're very judgy when it comes to drinking. And it's really sad because all 3 of their daughters are huge drunks.
Yeah.
We love drinking. But it's nice to hear a dad that was just like, it's okay, I've peed in a closet. Like that's
right.
very reassuring. That's nice. And I can't believe they didn't send it to your new address. That seems.
I know.
Why did they take you seriously?
That I'm sure was an actual address.
Yeah. I was going to say,
like
I'm so
45197 3.5 Main Street.
Oh my God.
The patience and tolerance of everybody in that scenario. my friend, the cop, the people at the hospital. I was such a fucking mess.
I can't believe he dragged you for so long. Like it must have looked like he was disposing of a body. Like
yeah. Absolutely.
Do you still talk to your friend?
Yeah. So he's, because we grew up the same way, so it's like war buddies, Like he lives down in Atlanta now. He has a wife and kid and a house and everything, but we commiserate on things all the time because you need, I'm only in touch with 2 people that I grew up with that are both no longer Jehovah's Witnesses, but like we definitely find it cathartic to trade war stories here and there.
Yeah,
like we made it through the shit fairly unscathed, you know.
Yeah, it borderline seems traumatizing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like it's one of these things that I think if you're an adult and you've already lived a life and it's something that you want for yourself, this idea of, I mean, what they believe in. I don't want to get sidetracked on that. It's
Mhm.
it's borderline on, you know, insanity and almost like close to Scientology, like
Uh,
truly believing that Armageddon is close at hand and that the world is going to be completely eviscerated of all evildoers, and that like the faithful worshipers of Jehovah will survive Armageddon and then live forever on a paradise earth, and their dead ones will be resurrected. It's fucking crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But you know, when you're a kid and it's, you know, it's brainwashing, it
mhm.
gets in there. So I think to do that to a kid is like it's insane to me. So the
Yeah.
idea of any sort of organized religion now is completely repulsive to me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it made me, and that's another thing. Like it's so restrictive that a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, when they do leave, they go completely off the fucking rails because
Mhm.
they've been so repressed for so long.
Yeah, it's like a
Um,
forever Rumspringa, it seems like.
yeah, sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad and I, we just had so many like, you know, it was such a codependent, just drunk relationship that we had after that. I remember we went to my uncle's wedding at one point. He got married at his, he had a like a small ceremony at his house,
Mhm.
and my dad and I were both just completely half in the bag, you know, before we got there. And then like during the wedding, I grabbed a bottle of Dewar's scotch and I was just drinking Dewar's just straight out of the bottle, like a full bottle of Dewar's scotch. And at one point, my uncle's friend was like, "Hey, buddy, you got to take it down a notch, man. Like this is just disrespectful. You're at your uncle's wedding." And everything that he's saying now in retrospect is like he was completely justified in telling me to take it down. But
Mhm.
of course, I'm 20. I'm not quite 21 yet.
Mhm.
I'm like, fuck this guy. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? This is
Oh
my
no.
uncle. I'm gonna have a good time. This guy is not gonna tell me what to do. So I'm just getting hammered, belligerent. And at one point, I go to give my dad a hug, and he's in a very like drunk, lovey mode too. And I go to give him a hug. I'm like, I love you so much. I'm so glad that you're still here. And I go to give him a hug, and he loses his balance and falls back. So we both just kind of like a big sequoia tree. We just timber fall back, and he slams his head on a doorknob. I come crashing down on top of him. So my dad is just kind of lying on the ground. I pull myself off of him and I like help him up. And I just see this shift in his eyes. And he's so furious at me. He's like, "You motherfucker." And like he snapped and he tried to hit me and he swung on me and I ducked and I went and I hid behind a chair. And my brother's like, "All right, dad, you got to get the fuck out of here." My brother's trying to get him out of there. I'm popping up from behind the chair, like taunting him, like giving him the finger, like a fucking evil whack-a-mole game. And my dad's like, "You motherfucker." Like every time I pop up and give him the thing, I think it's hilarious at this point. He's like completely irate. So my brother has to like get him in the car and drive him home and then come back to the wedding. I ruined a lot of very special occasions. I think I ruined my brother's wedding shortly after that.
What'd you do
um
there?
Um, I got really wasted and made out with some girl that he worked with that he was not very keen on that. Um,
Mhm.
and just I think I I think it was also like another like home wedding. I think I peed in the yard where I thought I was much more isolated than I was, and everybody was like watching me just pee in broad daylight.
Oh no.
Um, so yeah, I've had a lot of really like I should have been banished from the family long ago. And then when I finally when my buddy Matt finally moved to New York, and I was like, all right, cool, I have an inn now. I can move to New York too because I always wanted to live here. We were
Mhm.
living together on 13th Street in the East Village. Um, this was I moved to New York in 2005, and again, like even though I had already had like a couple years of drinking under my belt, I was 22 when I moved here. I had a couple years of
Mhm.
drinking under my belt. Once I got here and I was just submerged in that culture of, you know, just bars and nightlife, I think I got kicked out of every bar on St. Mark's Place within like 6 months of moving here. It was a
That's hard to
disaster.
do. Those
Oh
bars put
yeah.
up with a lot.
Oh, I know. It got to a point where we would go down to St. Mark's Place, and I'd be like, I can't go in there, man. And he'd be like, hey, I'm meeting up with some friends here for drinks. You want to come with? I'd be like, which one? Bull McCabe's? Nah, I can't go in there. You know. um,
Oh
it
no.
would either be I went through a phase where I would drink, and I thought it was funny to just whatever I was drinking, I would just like spew it in the air in like a fine mist, like water coming out of a whale's blowhole.
Oh
Like in
my
a crowded bar full of people, I would just fill my mouth and just. And I remember I did that one
That's so
time
gross.
yeah, especially now, right? I would
I mean, now you just would have infected
I
everybody.
would
You would have
I
killed
would
the
get
whole bar.
beaten within an inch of my life.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to McSorley's on like
Yes.
7th Street? Okay,
Yes,
so
I
we used to go to
have.
McSorley's all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we went there one time during Fleet Week, and there was like a whole there was like a whole table full of sailors, probably like 12 guys, all in their their uniforms, their little bow ties and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, you guys are in the Navy, huh? It was pretty cool. It's pretty fucking badass." And I like took a big swig of beer, and I just went, and I just spewed it all over the table. And there was like a moment of silence where I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna get jumped by like 12 military guys." And there was like a moment of silence, and then they all just like burst out laughing. They thought it was like the most hilarious thing they'd ever seen. And I remember thinking like, "Whoo, I really dodged a bullet there." Like that was like a turning point for me. I was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Um,
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that you did it in their face, and I would have been like, oh no. That might be the worst
yeah,
thing anyone's ever said on this podcast. And then I spit in the eye of the armed forces of our
yeah.
country.
Support our troops
Yeah.
with an ale in the eye. So yeah, I was, and also I had like no money when I moved here. I was a dog walker, so I was basically just drinking Colt 40s of Colt 45. That was
Oh
my
God, malt
like at
liquor.
home drink. Yeah, and
Oh,
we used to sit on the we lived on the 6th floor of a walk up on 13th Street, and we used to
oh
go
my
up to the we used to go up to the roof and sit on the edge of the roof with our legs dangling over the side,
Mm-mm.
drinking Colt 45. Like the kind of shit that now as a dad, I think if my son did that shit, I would be so scared and furious, and like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that I had so many instances where I could have easily died at any given moment. Like a strong wind, you just plummet 6 stories.
I mean, oh my God. That makes me anxious. Like
Yeah.
my heart is pounding more just because of that. I remember one time I used to live in Crown Heights, and we lived on the top floor, which was just the third floor. And so we would go up on the roof, and we would um drink on the roof and have get-togethers on the roof. But I remember one time I was super drunk, and I had brought this guy home, and I thought he was super cute, and so I wanted to like impress him and be like, "Oh, let's look over the edge together. Ooh,
Yeah.
she's crazy." Hammered. And it had just snowed. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm going to," and you know how it's like brownstones on the roof to the edge, they have like a slope. It's like
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. And so I was like, I'm just going to lay on my stomach and peer over and just look at it that way. Totally safe. Like we're fine. And so I start walking up this slope, and I go to peer, and I just slip and fall and hit my forehead right on the concrete. And the guy's like, "Oh shit, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh," I'm just like laying face down on this. It's like, "Yeah, I think we don't need to see the edge. Like that's fine." Yeah, it's just, and then I was like a week later, I was like, I had no business being on any roof at any
Yeah.
point during that drunken state. Like that was very dumb.
Sure.
Um,
Even now, having not drank in a while, the idea of hanging out on a roof sober is a little scary. You know what I
yes.
mean? There's no, it's crazy to
Oh,
think about doing that in like a blackout state where you have just no regard for anything or spatial awareness. It's
yeah,
fucking crazy.
absolutely not. It's terrifying, and it's irresponsible, to be honest. My 33-year-old self is like, get down from there. You go
Yeah.
sit in your room and think about what you almost did.
Yeah.
It's Oh God. And like I'm a person who I do okay with heights. Like I can go to the top of the Empire State Building and be fine. But it's
Right.
like I hate being on top of a tall ladder. Like that
Yeah, yeah.
scares the shit out of me. So it's like heights where like I could probably live, but I would break my neck. So even
Right.
being like on a fire escape in the second floor or the third floor, that freaks me out. Have you done
Yeah,
Tiny
yeah.
Cupboard?
I haven't, no. But I heard about there's like a very treacherous
Yes.
stairwell. It's like a metal grate stairwell you can see through down all the
Uh-huh.
way down to the
You can
ground.
see all the way through to the
Yeah.
ground and it kind of shakes when you
Yeah.
go up it. And I just every that is like I have like I get onto the top of the roof and I'm like, let's do comedy real quick. Like it's just like this adrenaline rush because
Yeah.
getting up that staircase is so scary. And I remember I had a few like they sell wine there. It's like boxed
Right.
wine, and I'm just like, give me three. And then I have to go back down, and I was like, I'll never drink on this place again because
Yeah,
it made
yeah.
it so much worse just looking down and walking down this. And you can see right down to the bottom. It's a
Oh,
nightmare. Oh my God.
that's
It's like
awful.
I'd rather if I'm gonna fall somewhere, I'd rather just fall and die immediately instead
Yeah.
of like
I want a surprise death.
yeah. I don't want to know. I was like, oh well, this is it. And then
Mhm.
just know that I'm gonna die. But like three
Yeah.
stories up, you fall, you could live. And it's just
Oof,
you're
yeah. That's
yeah.
worse. It's
Oh,
way
that's
worse.
way worse. Anyway, so it has nothing to do with drinking, but boy, you sitting and dangling your feet on the sixth floor makes me real nervous.
Oh man. Well, I also did this thing one time where I we started like a bar crawl like on the Upper East Side, and we were planning on like 80 something in Third Avenue. We were like planning on like hitting a bar every block all the way back down to our apartment, which would be insane. That's like bars, you know what I mean? Like what a ridiculous concept. So like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're at like 65th Street, and we're like completely blotto.
Mhm.
And I had just watched some action movie that week, and it's like a cliche action movie stunt where like there's like a chase scene and a guy is like running through an intersection, and he jumps and like slides across the hood of a car on his butt.
Mhm.
You've seen that, right?
Yeah. Oh
They
yeah,
like
yeah,
jump
yeah.
and
It's like
slide across the hood of a car. And
mhm.
I was like, oh, it's such a badass move. I always wanted to try that. So like for some reason this day I was like, I'm gonna fucking do that. I'm gonna try that. So like I waited for a cab to hit a red light, and I like took off in a full sprint, and I jumped and I tried to slide on my ass across the hood, and my ass just like totally stuck to the hood, and like my underpants went up to my armpits, like ruptured a testicle, and I was like, oh fuck, like it was such an like how do they do that in the movies? And then but like rather than get discouraged, I thought, well, I can't slide on my butt. The next time I do this, I have to like kind of like tuck and roll like on my shoulder.
Oh
So at the next
no.
intersection, that's what I did, and I like did this kind of like a somersault over the hood of this cab, and I did it, and I stuck the landing, and my buddy was like, dude, that was fuck. All I needed is a little bit of encouragement. I'm ramping it up. So I kept doing this over and over for like 4 or 5 intersections. I had a strategy. I was like, if I wait for a cab that has a passenger, he's not going to jump out of the car and chase me down and beat the shit out of me because he has a fare in the backseat. Whereas if
Yeah.
it's just like a regular civilian,
Yeah.
they could put the car in park and chase me down and not
Yeah.
have to worry about anything. So of course, plenty of cabbies were like, "Motherfuck you! What the fuck are you doing?" Like, furious at me. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I kept doing it. And then the final one, I went and I ran and I jumped on this cab, and I caught the hood of my sweatshirt on the windshield wiper, and it kind of hung me up just enough that when I rolled off, I didn't get my hands out in front of me in time. And I just rolled off the hood, and I just went bam, and I slammed my head first into the pavement. And just through sheer drunk strength, I was able to like pull myself up and scramble over to the corner. But like I knew that I hit my fucking face really, really hard. And and I was like, oh, I gotta go home, dude. And he was like, yeah, you do have to go home. So we walk home, and I definitely should not have gone to sleep because I probably was concussed. But I was like, I just need to get some sleep. I'll be fine. So I went to sleep and I like woke up 6 hours later and I stumble into and I as soon as I wake up, I can't open my right eye. I can't open it. And I'm like, oh God, I'm like afraid to look in the mirror. And I stumble into the bathroom and it just looks like one of those like it looks like one of those coin pouches that you like push the sides and it opens up in the middle, you know? It's like this big fucking purple coin. I cannot part my eyelids at all without the use of my fingers. And I didn't know if I had like shattered the orb of my eye or what, but like again, I was dog walking at the time, so for like a solid week and a half, I just had to wear these huge aviator sunglasses to pick up these dogs, and I was just a fucking mess. And for like a solid year after that, I like could not raise that eyebrow. So every time I would like raise my eyebrows, I would just look like The Rock, you know, doing like the people's eyebrow.
Yeah.
So that was certainly one of my worst worst injuries
Now, were
under
you
the
doing
influence.
comedy at the time? When did you start doing comedy, I guess?
No. So I moved here to do comedy and I chickened out. I didn't do my first open mic for 4 years after moving here. I did improv because I was like, well, I got to do something. I'll take some UCB classes. So I did improv and I was like on a couple of indie teams and shit. But no, I didn't do my first open mic till I was 26. And unfortunately, I hate to admit this, I was, you know how like every January, you remember like every January when you're first starting out, there would be like so many more people at the open mic because it was all like New Year's resolution people being like, I'm going to try comedy. That was my final like hurdle to like finally get the balls to do it when I was 26. I was like, I'm going to start comedy. I can't start comedy any later than this. Like, you need to do this fucking now. So like that was 2009. I was like, all right, this year you're doing it. Come January, you're doing stand up. And I did it. And yeah, again, though, the first couple of years of doing comedy was almost more like I was pursuing it actively and I was going to mics a lot, but it was just as much social and, you know, an excuse to booze as it was to do comedy. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
There was definitely numerous shows that I did where I should not have been on a stage holding a microphone.
So you would drink first and then go on stage?
Yeah, for sure. There were I remember one time at Fifth Estate here in Brooklyn too. There was a show that it was like a terrible show. It was on Fifth Avenue. It was like this terrible bar show, and it got canceled all the time. So I was like booked on the show one time, and it had such a terrible track record that I thought like, yeah, I'm booked on the show, but it's not going to happen. So I can get like super hammered tonight because it's not going to happen. You know, like I'll go there, I'll make an appearance, but it's not going to happen. So I don't have to be sober for this show. That's not going to happen. So sure enough, I'm like completely obliterated and I get there. And of all nights, it's like there's a crowd there and the host is like, yeah, we're going to do it. Doug, you're going to be up first. And I was like, fuck, no. And I remember being so terrified and like him going up on stage hosting, and the crowd was like a decent crew. They were like a good crowd too. And I knew that he was going to bring me up first. And I remember hiding behind the pinball machine, hoping that like he wouldn't see me and think that I left. And of course, one of my friends was there just totally throwing me under the bus. Like, he's right over there. He's under the pinball machine. And he called me on stage, and I was just such an asshole. I was like Don Rickles if it wasn't funny, if it was just mean. I was just like rudely roasting everybody in the crowd, just saying the most belligerent, awful things. And Rob Cantrell, do you know Rob Cantrell?
Yeah.
Rob Cantrell is like such a sweetheart. I'm like, I adore the guy now. And I didn't know him at the time. I like knew who he was, but I didn't know him. And I saw him standing in the back, and I don't know why, but I was like, look at this fancy faggot back here. He's going to come on stage next. Who knows what he's going to do? And I got, and all the other comics were just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And I got off stage, and Rob was like, he's one of the sweetest guys in the world. And he was like, you could tell that he was like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Who is this ass? Who is this drunken, belligerent asshole? And for like months after that, it was like every time I would see him, I was just like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. I know I have a problem. That was so fucked up what I said to you. I don't even know who you are. And now we're like, we're tight and everything's cool.
Mhm.
But for years, I felt so horrible for just, I was just slinging shit at everybody. So that at least, even though I kept drinking for another several years, that was a turning point for me. It was like, all right, you can have one beer before you get on stage.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that.
Yeah, I did a lot of boozing before I started comedy, and I also started when I was 26. I heard I think it was a interview with Bob Saget, and he said that he started at 26 or some shit, and someone was like, "Oh, that's really late to start comedy," and I was like
Yeah.
25 at the time, and I was like, "Oh, I got to start next year by the latest."
Yeah.
That for some reason stuck, and so the day before my 27th birthday, I went and I did my first stand-up set, but it was like, wow, really cutting it down to the wire. So technically, I can still say I'm 26, and I was a New Year's resolution girl. So I'm with you on
Oh, you
that.
were too? Yeah.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
stuck it out, so we're fine.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But I always was boozing. Um, I was working in a restaurant. I was a bartender, and I was like, okay, if you're gonna do this, you cannot have any drinks before you get on stage. That's the only rule. And so I managed, and I still stick with it. Every once in a while, I might have a glass of wine before I go on stage if it's like an open mic or something. But I managed to keep that, and it was for that very reason that you just said. I get very roasty when I drink, and I'm just like, oh, I got to try and make friends in this business. So, because I don't want to be the old mean bitch who started late, So,
right.
Yeah. So I was like, don't drink beforehand. Keep your wits about you and make up for lost time.
Oh my God.
So I get everything that you just said. And Rob Cantrell, may God bless him. I worked with him at Bananas, and he is a delightful man.
Oh yeah, I know. He was so cool. Anybody else would have been like, he's hold a grudge.
Yeah.
This guy's a fucking asshole.
For sure. You
Write me
managed
off.
to pick the right person to make fun of. Say some horrible slur at.
Yeah. And I kept up that rule of one drink per show for maybe 6 months, and then I did like a show in like Far Rockaway at a Thai restaurant where everybody got hammered, and I wound up hanging upside down from the handrail on the subway on the way home. And it was like me, Greg Stone, Anthony DeVito, Matt Wayne, and I was hanging upside down from the handrail, like singing Journey songs on the way home. And I get home, and the next morning I can't find my iPod. This was iPod days. I was like, God damn, my wife just bought me this iPod. I was like, God, where the fuck's my iPad? And then Anthony sends me a picture of me hanging upside down from this handrail. And if you zoom in on the floor of the subway underneath me, there is my fucking iPod. So it fell out of my pocket as I was hanging upside down doing this fucking bat pose. And there it remained.
Oh, so you say you're not drinking now. Is there any catalyst for that, or is it just like time?
Yeah, kind of time. I feel like I had a really good run, not a good run, but I feel like I had a lot of time to drink,
You had a lot of fun. It sounds like you had a
solid
great time.
20 years.
Yeah.
I did. I'm lucky I came out alive. Just for overall health reasons, I just felt like, and toward the end, I wasn't even drinking a lot, but I was still drinking every day. It was like I adopted my mom's philosophy. It was like 5 o'clock. It's like I'm off, especially like as a stay-at-home dad. It's like, I was talking about this with somebody the other day. It's almost like when your home is your workplace, when you're a stay-at-home parent, like you need something to clock out or sign off. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, that often looks like a beer or a glass of wine or like a joint at the end of the night, like something where you're off duty, So it was just enough for me to just get tired and bloated and just have, explosive shits. And then I reached a point where I was like, I tried every diet in the world. I like was gluten-free for a month. I was vegan for a month, still felt like shit. And I was like, the one thing I've never given up is booze. And I didn't even swear off it completely. I was like, I'm going to take one night off. And I did. And I had a great night's sleep. And I was like, wow, that was great. I took another day and another day and another day, and I was like, I don't think I need this anymore. I think I'm okay. I think like this was doing more harm than good. And also like I would drink. I was still drinking like by myself at home, and I had too many. My signature move that I think really was the straw that broke the camel's back for my wife. I would fall asleep on the couch while drinking red wine, and we have like a very like light beige colored couch, and I would fall asleep on the couch drinking red wine, and I would never spill the glass of wine while I was asleep. It would always, when I would wake up, I would wake up like and I would slosh it all over the back of the couch. And I did that one too many times, and where she would get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and like she would walk through the living room, and I would and she would watch it happen and just be like, what the fuck? And there I am, like half asleep, half in the bag at like 2 a.m, stripping the slip covers off the couch and like soaking them in the tub to try to get the wine out. It was like, this is fun, right? This is what fun looks like. No, this has to stop.
Oh, so after getting tumbling on taxis, hanging off 6 stories, going to the hospital, a couch did you in? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Not
What
the
a way to
stain
go.
remover I thought I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
This club soda's not doing the trick. So yeah, that was it.
Well,
When you're already destroying your own home, it's bad enough if you're out, wreaking havoc in the outside world. But when you're
of course, when you bring it home to a slipcover, get out of here.
Yeah, it's over.
Oh, well, she sounds like a very patient woman. In terms
she's
of
she's no sweet Pete, but she'll do.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, she's no Peter. All right, I get it. How is Peter? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's so my mom was 47. He was 51 when I was born. He's gonna be 90 in June.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
90-year-old dad. Yeah.
Is he still boozing?
Pretty insane. He is. Yeah. It's not like out of control because he's remarried and he's happy now. But yeah, if you call him after 5 o'clock, you'll definitely hear the ice clinking around in his Canadian whiskey.
Oh, I would have been disappointed if he didn't,
Yeah.
Oh, well, I always ask this at the end. Is there any story that we missed that we didn't get to that is a
story that we missed? Geez. Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, there is one.
Okay.
I'm not pushing you way over the time limit.
No,
here.
You're fine.
All right.
You're totally. These are so fun.
That I meant to tell you. So when I first moved to New York, I was like, I knew that one of the perks of moving here was like I'm a huge music fan, so I was like wanted to go to as many concerts as I possibly could. So the first year or two of living here, I went to a ton of concerts, like 2 or 3 a month at least, and I just spending all my money on concert tickets. And I went to a White Stripes concert in Coney Island at the stadium where the Cyclones play.
Oh yeah.
And the White Stripes at the time are like my favorite band. I'd seen them like 3 times on the Elephant tour. I had I was like practically like following the band, like that, just went to as many shows as I could. So I went to see them. This was on like the Get Behind Me Satan tour, and I saw them I got the general admission ticket for the show at the Cyclone Stadium, and I get there. And the band is basically situated all the way out in center field. And so there's like the standing area all throughout the rest of the baseball diamond. And then they have the seating area like behind home plate that's also filled. So I didn't know where my seat was. So I get there and I'm unfortunately stuck in one of the seats right behind home plate. Also behind the net that stops the foul balls or whatnot. So it's like one of the worst seats in the whole stadium. I'm like a mile from the fucking stage, and I'm watching this show through a fucking giant fishing net. So as soon as I get there, I'm just fucking furious, and I'm sure I had been pounding beers before I got there, and I had like 2 tall boys with me. And so the show starts, and it's like 20 minutes in, and I cannot enjoy this show at all. And I'm just like, motherfucker, this fucking seat. I can't believe I'm stuck here. I could be up there. And I just get this drunk strength in me. I'm just like, I'm looking around, I'm watching the security guards, and I'm like kind of studying their every move. And I look down, and this net is like stapled into the wood frame of the box, these seats that I'm in front of. And there's like, these like thick, like industrial size staples. But I'm like, I think I can, if I'm like smooth and take my time, I think I can like pop this net out of the staple. And my whole plan is like to rip this net just enough that I can make a hole and like escape through the hole and then just sprint. There's like 50 yards that I would have to sprint to get away from security guards. And then there's like these metal barricades separating the like the second baseline from the rest of the crowd up closer to the band.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know this is crazy and I'll probably get caught and I'll probably be thrown out of here, but I don't really give a shit because I'm not enjoying this show now. So I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm standing and my buddy's with me and I'm like, this is a $60 ticket. I'm not getting my money's worth. This is horseshit. So I'm yanking on this net and like other people in the crowd are kind of watching me, almost kind of like cheering me on. Like, what the hell do you see what this guy's about to do? Like, this is fucking crazy. This guy's insane. So I'm yanking on this net and finally I pop one staple and there's like, maybe like a 4-inch gap under this net. And I'm yanking on it some more. I pop another staple and I'm making this hole bigger and bigger and bigger. None of the security guards are the wiser of what I'm doing. So finally I get like a hole that I think I can sneak my skinny little ass through. So I just like kind of take a couple of deep breaths. I'm like, okay, ready and go. And I just scurry through this hole in the net and I jump down in the dirt by home plate. And by this point, 2 security guards see me and they make a beeline for me. And I just start sprinting toward this barricade, just full throttle. And I know that once I hop the gate and get into the crowd, they won't be able to see me. I'm wearing like a t-shirt and like a short sleeve button down over it. And as I'm running, I'm trying to think of a way to disguise myself once I get into the crowd so they can't like pull me out, throw me out. So as I'm running, I'm like unbuttoning my short sleeve button down and I unbutton it and I yank it off and I jump over this fence and it's like this, I'm playing it in my mind like a movie, like I'm this close to freedom and I jump the fence and I just do this ridiculously ungraceful just fall right on my face and I pop up and I run into the crowd and I like stick my shirt in my pants and I like shimmy my way all the way up to the front of the stage and like I did it. Like I got away, I escaped these security guards and I've like got right up to the front of the stage and I like enjoyed the rest of the show for like another hour. But it was
my
like,
God.
It was one of these really cool moments of like, I was set out to do this ridiculous thing to evade these security guards. And I did it. Like I fucking did like major property damage to this baseball stadium, ripping their net out of the stands and then just sprinted my way to,
oh my God, that's
freedom.
That is a case for drunk confidence, I feel like.
Yeah, right.
Because it worked out. You stuck it to the man and you nothing bad happened. That's incredible. No one got hurt. Like, this is great.
No one got hurt. No iPods were lost.
No iPods were lost. No one's disappointed in you.
Yeah.
If anything, the whole row is just like, we should have done it. Oh.
Rob Cantrell's feelings were intact. Yeah. It was,
I think
no casualties.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that was phenomenal. That is inspiring.
That was one of those moments where like, yeah, booze is good. If it wasn't for booze, I never would have had the gumption to do something like this.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jim Beam. You brought it out. Yeah. You're bringing out the best in me. That was great. What a way to end this with hope. I feel like.
Yeah, right. It started out on a very sad note.
It did.
Cult upbringing, dead mom, drunk father. How can he turn this around?
Oh, okay. The white stripes at a baseball stadium.
Evading the fuzz.
Yeah. Oh, well, this has been so much fun, Doug.
Yeah.
Who knew you really meant it when you said, I have a lot of stories. Yeah,
I do. There's probably many more that I don't remember due to my many blackouts, but
Come back anytime. If you find another juicy one hidden in that beanie of yours, you
Yeah.
let me know.
I
where
take my
can-
hat off. I got like 3 nips in there. I was like, I lied.
Yeah.
I fell off the wagon.
Sauce. I'm ruining slip covers as we speak.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram the most, Who Doug Smith on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, just trying to get my comedy career back on track when I can. I've been doing the full-time stay-at-home dad thing while my son is, school gets shut down every other week, and I'm
it's so tough.
Yeah.
Well,
but
if it helps,
I'm glad you're doing this. It's nice to see people doing pods and putting videos together. You got to do what you can.
I mean, it's it's fun, but it is definitely discouraging with the state of comedy right now. So just know that you are not alone. Everybody's career has pretty much stopped. So you can blame it on being a dad, but you're not alone. It's all of us. We're all
at least I have someone to blame it on, right?
Yeah, that's true. Me, it's just I have nothing. I have nothing. I have no room with the dog man in the back. I have nothing that loves me unconditionally. So I say you're coming out on top, Doug.
Trying.
And now you got a new mic. Start your own pod. Do it, baby.
I know.
Yeah. That's fun.
It sounds like it's not as hard as I make it out to be. I'm so technologically inept that I'm so intimidated by the concept of software and a recording platform, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I was talking to my therapist about it the other day, like how incompetent I feel and how my whole upbringing, there was only one thing that was important. It was like being good in this religion, and any sort of adaptation to the outside world was completely discouraged, and I'm an idiot. I don't know how to do anything. I feel so incompetent. I want to start a podcast. I don't know how. There's like a long pause, and he goes, a lot of stupid people have podcasts. I was like, yes.
This is why I
pay you the big bucks
I've ever heard. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I say this with all sincerity. If I can do it, you can do it. All right. I mean that. And I'm not saying that I'm a dumb person, but technologically, oh boy, she's not great. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you the platform that I use after the pod, and I will show you that it is very easy to start and you can do it. All right.
All right. I believe.
And I am not for more comics starting a podcast, but you are the one that I think should really have a podcast. You are very fun to talk to. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, pressure's on. Don't let me down.
Keep it out of the doldrums. That's my main mission. It's hard.
It's hard. Well, thank you so much. Yeah,
of course.
Took the words out of my mouth. This was so much fun. And hopefully we can see each other soon and have a kombucha or whatever.
Yeah. I do love kombucha. I turn a blind eye to the 0.5% alcohol in the kombucha.
Should. It's good for your guts. All right.
Exactly.
All right. And you tell Sweet Peter I said hello. Okay.
I will.
Be like, what?
Thanks so much.
Thank you.